This is the Music Therapy Chronicles podcast interview with the team from the Creative Dementia Collective.
And also emphasis on the custom, right? Because like I said earlier, no, two people with dementia are the same. Everyone is unique. So therefore, each and every one of our engagement plans are unique. So we when we have a new client come to us or a new family come to us, we really go through a thorough process of getting to know them and finding out what their life story is, what their goals are, collectively, individually, and to see how we could each support them with, either art therapy, music therapy, legacy work, dementia education, community building, self-care. And we will design, an engagement plan.
You're listening to the Music Therapy Chronicles, a podcast about music therapy from a variety of perspectives. Our ambition is to inspire and connect listeners through meaningful conversations, just like a music therapy conference you can listen to anywhere. My name is Trisha Kayati, and I am a board-certified music therapist from the New England region. If you like what you hear, join our group on Facebook and share your own insights and thoughts about the episodes. You can also connect with us on social media and online at Music Therapy Chronicles. Welcome back to the Music Therapy Chronicles. I hope you're having a great week and have been eagerly anticipating part 2 of my conversation with Kaylee, JL, and Erin from the Creative Dementia Collective. As I said last week, this part of our conversation, we dive into censorship and sex. So how we are supporting the whole human when working with people with dementia. And yeah, this is just a very wholesome conversation on topics that can feel controversial or icky or taboo. And it was refreshing to be able to talk about these things in a way that was supportive and therapeutic and empowering. So I hope you enjoy this conversation. If you're looking for a way to support the show, the best way to do that is to subscribe and leave a rating and review. That really helps the show be more visible so that people can find this type of content. I'm sure that this episode will get some conversation going, so jump in our Facebook group, Music Therapy Chronicles on Facebook, and join our group, and also follow us on social media or on Instagram at Music Therapy Chronicles. All right, let's get into part 2 of this 3-part series with the Creative Dementia Collective. I don't ever think we took time to define what the Creative Dementia Collective is, so the listeners might kind of be getting an idea, but can we paint a picture, or is it one of these ideas that's it's so broad? Yeah, so tell us what it is you guys are kind of doing day to day, because obviously you have an awesome core to what you're doing, awesome core principles, and you want to help people, and you're so pure in that intention. So how does that look?
Erin, do you want to talk
Oh,
a little
sure.
bit about
Sure. So as you've gathered by now, we each have our kind of specific modalities, and the way we blended them all together is to create customized engagement plans for the folks that we work with. Ooh. So
can I put a pin in that? So is that instead of treatment plan, customized engagement plan?
Exactly. Whew. Thank you for pointing out the very intentional language.
Thank you for teaching me so much today. Cool.
And also emphasis on the custom, right? Because like I said earlier, no, two people with dementia are the same. Everyone is unique. So therefore, each and every one of our engagement plans are unique. So we when we have a new client come to us or a new family come to us, we really go through a thorough process of getting to know them and finding out what their life story is, what their goals are, collectively, individually, and to see how we could each support them with, either art therapy, music therapy, legacy work, dementia education, community building, self-care. And we will design, an engagement plan that we will, gosh, what was our last one? I think 12 sessions. 12 sessions with a really, really good medley, of the expressive therapies and the educational bit, and working directly with, the client, and then working directly with their community and their spouse, so that we're kind of approaching this care community, everyone who's being touched by this one person's dementia from a different angle. And so we'll work with them for 12 sessions, and anyone feel free to jump in, but
one more. I mean, if it's
more,
working,
yeah,
something they want to integrate, then that's something we'd love to do. And I think it's so important because, we can do music therapy or art therapy or education, and with the person living with dementia. But if we're not reaching out to their support community, the people who care for them and the people who love them, and explaining why it is we're doing what we are doing, and why it is their loved one is reacting in this way or that way, or what it means if they say this or do that, then leave them. Then we haven't, we made an impact for that time in a bubble, but haven't given the tools needed to sustain a positive approach to care, right? To sustain understanding how to use tools of music and art and nonverbal communication to connect with their loved one as they continue to progress, and to be flexible and change with them, and also to be attending to your own needs and understanding, like, I'm getting really close to burnout, I need to ask for help, or I was given these tools for self-care, I'm going to lean on them now.
And I think a population that really presented itself to us, especially over this last year, was at-home care partners, people who, like, all of a sudden, right, found themselves in the position of being, caring for mom or caring for dad at home, whether, all sorts of circumstances led to that. But, no, people are present to their burnout right now and present to their need for help. And for people who, also have the goal of remaining in home, it's going to take a lot of different kinds of support. So we try to approach it with, a good balance of, like, the emotional practical skills, or educational practical skills-based support, and then the equally important emotional support.
And we also are growing, we're expanding what we do, and we boldly, beautifully, bravely, naively, wonderfully started a business in the middle of a pandemic, because why not, right?
I did the same thing. I get it.
Yep.
You get it.
I bet a bunch of people listening are, like, nodding their heads, like, yes. How innocent it felt.
It's adorable.
But yeah, so, and we love public speaking. We love educating. We love talking to people and sharing this information, getting people kind of on board with having more conversations about dementia. That's a big kind of cornerstone of our destigmatization, is, like, let's talk about it as much as we can, so that people aren't afraid to say the word dementia, and we're excited for kind of our new projects.
I'll give a really kind of funny recent example. So, like I said, we're millennials. We're not the most tech savvy millennials. Like, we really set a goal for ourselves this year. We're like, all right, guys, we really like got to get around Instagram. Like, we got to figure out this whole Instagram thing. Like, this is relevant in marketing nowadays. We got to figure it out. So we're like, okay, we're going to learn how to do reels. So we've started doing reels, and most of the time, people talking in our industry, they're older generations. It's often, can feel really clinical, and sometimes it can feel like really hush hush and private. And we're like, nope, we're going to get on Instagram, and I'm going to, do this funny, weird reel about sundowning. And so I created a, gosh, what do we call her? Like an alter ego? Sure. I created an alter ego. Her name is Delphine. Nod to my two grandmothers, Dolores and Frida. That's Frida with a PH. So Delphine is an older woman. She's living with dementia, and she is our dementia embodied, right? To be able to talk about and give a voice to, and use a little bit of humor to address something that's super heavy and scary for people. So, we've been putting out, and Kaylee has reels that she's doing. JL is like crushing it. And we found that like, it's a new platform that we didn't know people wanted to use and wanted to talk about. And then like, people are jumping on like, how dare you joke about this? And like 20 people jump on. They're like, no, you don't understand. I've been a care partner for so long. I've worked in memory care. Like, you have to have a sense of humor. If you don't, you're going to get sick. Like, all these people, and giving people a platform to be able to talk about, their, what helps them, what supports them as a care partner. Just from this, little 6-second reel on Instagram. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. So we're branching out. We're trying new things.
What I love about that example, and this also kind of ties into what JL was just saying as well, is I think the reel that Erin is describing is one of our, by far, the most popular reel that we've put out there. And I think the reason it got so many views and likes is because people resonate with that. People see themselves in that. People see their experience reflected back to them. And dementia is such an isolating disease. And this pandemic has been such an isolating experience on top of it. So we have layers and layers of disconnection and isolation. And at the core of who we are and what we do, be it making funny reels that are reaching people all over the place, be it doing our actual work and working with care partners and with people living with dementia, it's about making those connections. It's about bridging those gaps and screaming from the rooftops, you're not alone. Your experience is not singular. And even though people have been scared to talk about it, there are so many people that have walked this path. There are so many people that understand what you're going through, and we're not doing ourselves any favors by just being silent about it. Let's start talking about it, whether it's making silly internet reels or having like concrete code treatment plans, or really partnering with care partners on that journey. All the different ways we do that, it's about bridging those gaps. It's about making those connections and doing what we can to ease that isolation, which now more than ever is just massive.
I'm super grateful on that note for the virtual voice that this pandemic's given us, right? Like, I don't know that it would have occurred to us to be like, let's, focus on our virtual presence, and let's hop on and let's do a bunch of webinars, and let's, speak on virtual panels and things like that. But we've found that that's been the most valuable to, people who've heard us and come to us and been like, I heard what you said. I saw myself in that, and I'm here for it. So, that's one of those kind of hidden gifts from this last year.
Yeah, I think, the the piece that Erin and Kaylee were talking about, of, that it resonates so deeply because it's so relatable, right? When we kind of make these, 6-second bits of comedy or whatever. And that goes back to, what I was kind of talking about in the beginning, is this super deep human need for connection. And that, I've been telling my friends for a couple of years now, if I go back to school and get my doctorate eventually, it will not be in art therapy. It will be in the study of memetics, of memes. Like you laugh heartily and you think I'm joking, but here's why
there needs to be research in that. It needs to happen.
Yes, it's there.
I have this super deep, wonderful fascination with memes, in that it is brilliant how a single image that has this context behind it, that is this kind of agreed upon thing, right, becomes a universal symbol of an experience, right? Like you can see, the picture of, I don't know, whatever, the little girl with the burning house behind her, and she's kind of making the like evil grin smile, right? Like we have all had that moment where like something kind of wild's happening and you're just like, all right, like we can all connect to this through this one image, right? And I think that especially in these fields where the disease itself or the circumstance itself is hyper isolating by nature, there's a lot of beauty and power in representing things to people in a way that immediately they can resonate, of like, oh, I know exactly what that feels like. And there's, we kind of laugh about memes, and the older generations don't get it and whatever, but there is something incredibly powerful that globally we can take one image or one clip of sound or one circumstance, and everybody can relate to that experience all at once in an instant. That's so powerful. That's so powerful.
Have any of you seen the cartoon? And it's a millennial in elder years and in a wheelchair with a care partner. And then there's another person with a dog, and the millennial in the wheelchair is like, Doge, so cute, must touch. And the care partner is like, no one ever knows what she's saying, don't worry about it. And of course we're like, we know what she's saying, she wants to pet the dog. Like, how did you not get that?
And I saw a version where it's the same meme. That's what's so fun about it, is you can take the same picture and put multiple text on it and kind of apply it to different ways. But I saw the same meme, and it was the older lady saying, I remember when you got Netflix in the mail. And they're like, okay, Anna. Okay.
Yeah. I was thinking earlier when you were talking about ISO principle, Kaylee, and like playlists, and like, God, what's our playlist gonna be like?
Yeah,
I was like, there'll be a lot of Alanis Morissette for me. That's
Mine will be like lots of like Ja Rule, 90s, 2000s, R&B, like letting, make your playlist now, people. Make your dementia playlist right now.
Be that person who shows up to your co-treatment meeting to be like, here's my binder of all of my favorite tunes, generationally curated. Be that person.
It's a very Leslie Knope move. For
Totally.
Those music therapy groups for millennials in care communities are going to be lit.
That's actually a conversation I had with my husband when we were talking about becoming my dad's guardian. Is a lot of people have the misconception that like music therapy is like gentle classical guitar and harp music and spa music, and my dad is rock and roll to the core. My dad loves Led Zeppelin. Anytime he picks up a guitar, he will start playing Stairway to Heaven every single time without fail, and I will listen to it 30 times a day. I do not care. And actually our new client really loves Immigrant Song, which I'm excited for, another Zeppelin song. And Chris was like, well, what if he wants to listen to like songs with explicit lyrics, or they're inappropriate, or this or that? And I had to like, again, kind of bridge that gap and have that conversation of like, it's client preferred music. There's no wrong music. I've done, hip hop in juvie settings. I've done heavy metal. Like it's whatever lights your fire is great. And then also there's that piece of it's inappropriate, and I hate when we apply that in this setting, because we're working with grown-ups.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Who
Well,
have their own families and live their own lives. They have probably done drugs or heard about drugs. They have cursed up a fucking storm. They have had sex, and a lot of it. They have like 12 children.
Yeah.
It's okay to talk about sex and drugs. It's okay if a song has curse words in it. It's not our job to censor that experience and to infantilize them and treat them like children. Like, they are grown-ass adults, and if they're feeling themselves and feeling hypersexual, like, great. If they're cursing, great. I remember Aaron told me about a kind of I don't want to speak for you. In the community where you once were, you had like kind of a ladies feel yourself type of night, like a
that I did.
Yes. Yes.
You know how sometimes we host those parties to find appropriate tools and things like that to enjoy yourselves? Yeah. So older adults, they want that too. And if it's part of our job to normalize their sexuality and make it, anyone seen Grace and Frankie?
I love
right?
that show.
Like where they're like, okay, we're going to actually invent a dildo for, that works for our hands and our arthritis and our anatomy, and I'm like over here, like dancing in my living room, like, yes, let's normalize sexuality in older adults. Yeah, management had a real fun time with that, but I was like, I don't care. I don't care. That's hence why I'm not there. But no, I mean, to on a just educational moment, pause here. There, being able to have music or conversations with adult content, things like use profanity, have sexual talk, naughty talk, like that's actually a part of our brain that sticks with us. We might lose our other language functions, we might use our other vocabulary or speech comprehension, but the part of the brain that stores all that, like the naughty talk, the slurs, that's why people, a lot of that, like those racial slurs also are preserved in that side of the brain, which can be really confronting for care partners to have to deal with. But like, if we give people an opportunity to normalize cursing and normalize, sex talk and things like that, and give them an outlet for it, again, it's like meeting them there where they're at, not shaming them for that, because hey, that's just how their brains click in these days. So again, sometimes not everybody's as comfortable with that particular care approach, but I'm like, hey, try it on as a kindness. That you're giving them, you're normalizing what's going on for them.
I'm going back to the redirect the anxious energy out of the body. Like, what a great way to take anxious energy out of the body.
100%.
And approaching care in that way, that is a form of activism. That's pushing back against ageism, right? That our culture completely desexualizes, completely strips people later in life of their access to pleasure in so many ways. And if you are, if your brain is operating in a way of, kind of more in the realm of basic needs, right? Of, when we need comfort, we need touch, we need food, we need water, right? We need sensory connection, especially as our vision declines, as our hearing declines. Having physical pleasure is a really important part of just our nervous system stimulation. And when we're so hung up on our like puritanical old people can't be sexy vibe, like, no, that's doing harm actually, because we're denying people access to a part of their humanity. And that's not fair, right? And so we need to, and I say we because I think, we all have internalized elements of this, of like, we need to work on our own internalized stigma of what it means for like an old person to want to fuck, and push back on all of the squicks that like we feel about that because of our own preconceptions, and like let them guide what they need by telling us or showing us, and find ways to support them. Like, our job is to be the snowplow that gets the obstacles out of the way that are unsafe or, non-consensual or whatever, right? And find a way for them to get their needs met, that is,
Yeah.
healthy, safe, sane, consensual, right?
Can
I
sorry.
I've got a
Can I
good
share?
example, but go for it. Yeah.
Girl, same. So this is in a different population, but I think is a very helpful example, especially uh, circling into keeping it safe, keeping it
Mm-hmm.
appropriate, keeping it consensual, right? So sometimes those boundaries of when and where this is okay can get a little bit blurry. But I'll give an example of working with a teenager with autism who was discovering his sexuality and and masturbating, right? And the conversation and the way that we approached that was not, that's not okay, you're dirty, you're not allowed, because obviously, like, especially with teenage boys, if they don't do it, it'll happen when they're sleeping, right? It's going to happen some way. And he was expressing himself, and that is perfectly healthy and natural. What we did was give him safe boundaries. This is something that you do in the privacy of your bedroom. This is something that you do not do in front of others. This is something you're not allowed to walk out afterward without re-putting your clothes back on. That's not okay. Other people don't want to see you naked. That's privacy. Your privates are private, right? So it's putting in those structures of when and where is this safe and appropriate for this person to express it, but not telling them you're gross, you're dirty, but here are the boundaries of where this is safe and okay. And behind those closed doors, you go for it. Good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't come out naked, but like, let's close that door when you're doing that. Thank you so much.
Just leave your life alert on, just in
Yeah.
case, though.
Well, and jumping to the other and the other spectrum of life, right? Like, people say that as an older adult, you can go through like a second, or I don't even think it's your second puberty at that point. Was it like your third? But like sexual awakening, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had a woman who was just like really rediscovering her sexuality, and she was masturbating with tools that were just like really harmful, and like we're gonna hurt her, like hairbrushes and things like that. And it was a big opportunity for us, as her care team, to talk about it. And there were definitely those who were like, we just need to remove anything and everything that could possibly use like that. We just need to, eliminate, use subtraction. And I'm like, well, or this person who has limited safety awareness and impulse control and a wicked sexuality, or we could practice substitution and get them things that are appropriate to use. So that's kind of how we flipped that conversation and got her like safe tools to use so that she could enjoy herself safely. And that was us being the snowplow in that, as JL put it, right? Like, we're going to take out of the way anything that's going to do harm, and we're going to substitute it with things that are going to meet the need. And then privately, we're going to get over all of our weirdness about it, because that's not her problem. That's our problem. So, yeah, so this conversation is taking a really interesting turn.
I'm for it.
I love
like, well, so we talked about masturbation with older adults living with dementia for a good 15 minutes.
Well, I'm glad we circled back. That's like, how are we presenting it that is an appropriate consensual way? It's not just like, hey, we're going to start talking about sex with all our clients, and we're like, like there should be a boundary there that's like, what can we provide, or what can we support? And I'm assuming there's going to be some transference and counter transference, and like having the boundaries there to work around that. And, again, that goes with doing our own work first. But yeah, I'm glad that we did that. It wasn't just like, hey, we brought up this topic, it's important, but we also talked about like some concrete, how do we make this happen? Right. And the more our professions talk about it, the more we can do it and feel like we're doing it I'm going to say in quotes, the right way, or doing it in, I don't even want to say an evidence-based way, but we're not the only ones out there doing it and figuring it out all on
Like a
our own.
helpful way, maybe.
Yeah.
Helpful
Yeah,
way.
and that we're not the ones as the clinicians being like, let's talk about
Yeah.
your sex life. But also, if our clients bring it up, we're not like, gross, never mind.
Ooh. We'll talk about every other part of your humanity except for that.
Yeah.
I really hope you enjoyed this conversation and it was thought-provoking for you. Like I said before, it was refreshing to be able to touch on these topics in a way that felt wholesome and therapeutic and acknowledged the importance of censorship. And I keep wanting to say sex education, but that's not not what I'm saying here. But supporting the whole person and their pleasure, desires, and I think it was Erin mentioned Grace and Frankie over on Netflix. So if you haven't checked out that show, please check it out. It'll be linked in the show notes. But that's a great example of the importance of these topics. Please take a moment to leave us a rating and review if you haven't already. That's a great way to support the show. Follow us online at Music Therapy Chronicles as well as on social media. Consider becoming a patron over on patreon.com/Music Therapy Chronicles. Patrons have the exclusive opportunity to ask questions of the guests. So when I schedule an interview, I write on Patreon who's coming on the show and what we're talking about. And if you have a question on that topic, this is your opportunity to ask all your questions to that guest. You can run the interview if you want. I'll let you. And if you or someone you know is interested in being on the show, please let me know by sending an email to hello@musictherapychronicles.com. I have one more announcement before we wrap up this episode with our quote. In an effort to give myself some space to rest and restore, I have decided to take the month of August off. So that doesn't mean there won't be any content for the month of August. I will still be putting out an episode each week, but I will be re-releasing 4 episodes in the month of August. As you know, we're well over 100 episodes now, so there's lots to choose from, and I look forward to bringing back some ones that maybe people who are new to the show missed. And even if you listen to them again. There's always something more to learn. So I hope that you're looking forward to that. And keep in mind that since these are re-released episodes, some of whatever I say in the intro and outro might be not current. This episode might be from 2 years ago. Who knows? So we'll see. Thank you for supporting the show each week. I'll probably still be active on social media during the month of August, but that's what you can expect moving forward. Stay tuned for part 3 of this conversation next week where we talk about self-care. It's a good one. You don't want to miss it. And we'll leave you with this quote. Thank your body for being so smart.